14 minutes in it. I can't even, you guys. 14 minutes in, and apparently I've got to cover this one because this is like I thought I was done with the Miranda Sings, Colleen Ballinger bullshit, but I can't even with this. All right, let's go.
Hey everyone, welcome back to a new video. Today I am jumping on the Colleen Ballinger bandwagon. But no, I am not talking about her cringe-inducing non-apology with a ukulele.
All aboard the toxic gossip train. The only thing I've ever groomed is my 2 Persian cats.
Right.
Not a groomer. Just a loser.
I am doing what I do best, and I am being snarky about her attempts at writing a children's book.
I can't even.
Seriously. Now, Colleen has written 2 books as Miranda. Today we're going to be looking at the first one. This is Self-Help by Miranda Sings, a children's book written by Colleen Ballinger from the perspective of her satirical character, Miranda Sings. This waste of paper was published by Simon & Schuster Children's. You know how I feel about Simon & Schuster and their terrible celebrity vanity projects. I have a whole rant about it in my Jake Paul video. But this is their children.
By the way, she is far more generous than I would be in reviewing this book. Can't even. Oh my god, this is so terrible.
Imprint, so everything here is aimed at young children and teenagers. This was published back in 2015, and it promises its young target audience that it'll be a guide to getting a boyfriend and lying, basically. Now, this book is a parody, and you know me, I love a good parody. Give me some good satire, give me a good parody, like, ooh, love it. I actually have a whole video on the art and wonder and beauty and legitimacy of parody if you want to go check it out. But in regards to this book in particular, I have a couple of complaints. One, I'm not sure that this is a particularly clever or well executed parody. Yeah, it's not good enough. 2, the basic marketing for this book doesn't make it particularly clear that it is a parody. That is, unless you already know who the Miranda character is. And from a lot of the reviews I read, a lot of the parents buying this book for their kids didn't know who Miranda was. They didn't realize this book was satire, and that made it all the more inappropriate in their eyes. And 3, even with the parody label, a lot of this humor and content is just inappropriate for children. It's gross, it's weird, it's kind of borderline predatory. Colleen makes jokes out of really, really inappropriate topics, which we'll get to in this video.
Well, based on the 14 minutes that I watched of your video, it's not borderline predatory. This chick was explicitly putting forth content that was inappropriate for children, and she was selling it as children's content. This is like one of the most disgusting things I've seen in a long ass time.
And yeah, I just have a lot of thoughts about it. On the one hand, I have complaints because this is just another low-effort YouTuber cash grab, but on the other, I have complaints because I do genuinely think this is inappropriate for the children it's being sold to. Before we start, let's take a look at a couple of the reviews on this book. This should give you an idea of what we're in for. Not appropriate for an 8-year-old. Or my 12-year-old. This book I felt was totally wrong on so many levels for my 8-year-old, who I feel is at an impressionable age.
It is not appropriate for any minor whatsoever. This is something, I mean, based on what you've said so far in the first 14 minutes, this is something that should have been sold as adult content, and it's just dumb as fuck.
And even my 12-year-old. I'm so glad I read it before letting her read it. I get that Miranda's aimed at tweens and the book is meant to be of really silly humour. However, I don't know at what age a section on how not to be porn, or how to make yourself better by making other people feel worse, puberty and wiping is aimed at. I'm certainly not a prude, but really don't find these articles appropriate for my children. Warning to parents! Do not buy this book for your children. This book contains inference to having special cuddles with your uncle, riding daddy's saddle, pornography, 69 with your boyfriend, having a special place to go with your uncle. There is an underlining subliminal message of incest, which is unnerving to say the least. This book is highly inappropriate for children, and I would recommend you stay clear. 1 star. rubbish. This is mature content, but Miranda/Colleen doesn't mind her younger audience seeing. It's completely inappropriate for kids, and they're her biggest fans. When I opened the book, the porn page is the one that it opened to. Really not okay. I'm returning the book without showing it to my daughter. Do you get the idea of how bad this is? And when you put this book into context of all the allegations surrounding Colleen now, and I keep wanting to say Colleen Hoover, oh god, she's been on my mind too much recently with all the books with all the videos I've made on her. But with all the allegations against Colleen Ballinger at the moment and her being inappropriate with children, crossing boundaries with teens, sending inappropriate content to teenagers and young people and children, even the more, I guess, like, not dramatic allegations, but people have criticised her for things like, exploiting her children on her family channel and stuff like that. With all these allegations against her, this book really, really isn't doing her any favours. No. Let's start by discussing the opening, and then we're going to go through bit by bit by bit. I've kind of organised it into sections and themes and areas. Probably one of the least offensive parts of the book is the opening page. This is a disclaimer. The book opens by telling kids to buy multiple copies of the book so they can have one clean one and one messy one to do all the activities in. I know this is meant to be a joke, but you just know kids are really going to ask for this, don't you? Like, this is what kids do. This is a way for Colleen to just sell more books and more merch. Like, I should also warn you that, like, because of the character of Miranda and, like, who Miranda is as a character and how young she's meant to be and stuff, the spelling in this book is terrible. That's all intentional. Just, you get used to it. This book has a lot of cutouts and activities where you draw in the book, so you need to get another backup book. Go buy another one right now so you can cut this one up and draw in it and have an extra one that is perfect. It's like when she who will not be named released her first poetry book with multiple coloured covers, even though the entire content was the same, and then encouraged her fans to go out and, like, collect them all. Or with her second book, where she had these crappy sections of bonus content at the end in, like, 3 or 4 different versions. So again, you'd have to go out and buy all of them. Or when Jake Paul released his Buy That Merch song. Buy that merch. Buy that merch. Buy that merch. I feel like even though this is portrayed as a joke, said through a character, this is Colleen's way of trying to push kids to buy more of her stuff, buy more of her merch, buy more of her books, whatever, while passing it off as, ha ha ha, what a joke, no, but really do it, just kidding, am I? I kinda hate it. She makes the exact same joke at the end of the book too, and it's not funny then either. Now that you read my book, you're probably better at everything now. If you're not, you should get another copy of my book so you can read it again. Also, I'm sure you know some horrible person that needs this book. You should get one for them as a present or tell them that they should buy it for themselves. That way we can change the world together. Like, I know it's a joke, but also it's not, is it?
How are you gonna change the world by saying really super inappropriate things about puberty? Like, how's that change the world? Fucking Colleen, like, what are you doing? Oh my god. I'm so glad my son was too old to get into your bullshit, because, like, I don't think I could have handled trying to manage a situation in which he would have been your fan. Fortunately, I didn't have to deal with this bullshit. I can't even with you.
You are telling young impressionable kids, oh, keep buying my merch, buy it for everyone else, ask for another copy, ask for that. Like, I've seen how impressionable kids are and stuff, and how they all feel this need to, like, collect things that their favorite YouTubers and influencers and creators put out and stuff, and it feels like jokes like this are taking advantage of that. Bothers me a little bit. Okay, let's start with some positivity. There are some good things about this book. For example, I like the coloured page backgrounds, and I do think a couple of pages are actually kind of cute and funny and child appropriate, and they kind of capture the essence of Miranda's character without actually managing to be offensive. But these are in the minority. So, for example, there's these few pages where you have, like, this cute mix and match drawings of, like, Miranda in different silly outfits, and you have to, like, cut up the pages and mix and match the outfits and stuff. It's silly but fun, but kid appropriate, and
Oh, yes, that's awesome. You know, I used to play with paper dolls when I was a kid. There are other options, you guys.
really support this. I think this is a great idea. I like this page. There's another one where she has this section in the book about making money, and in that she's like, oh, the way to make money is to just make money. And then she has this thing about like drawing your own money, and then she has these like drawings of money that she's done herself with her face on it, and it's like, you know, the United States of Miranda and that sort of thing, and you can like cut them out and use it as, like, again, funny, silly, captures the essence of Miranda, but totally kid appropriate.
I'm sorry, why? How is this kid appropriate? Talking about money? Is this kid appropriate? Like, what is she teaching them about money? Is she teaching them any actual life skills about like creating a savings and paying their bills? Why are you talking to kids about this bullshit? Why is she talking to them about money? How do I can't even, dude.
Yeah, I quite like this. I think it's
Okay.
funny, silly, good
You
for
like
kids. And then you have some other little pages like this, which is like a hidden pictures, like find the hidden money, just like in real life. And that's like one of those things where you're like, you know, as an adult, you can really like that's funny. Getting money is hard. But as a kid, you can see it and be like, ah, ha ha ha, find the picture. Like, that is a joke that I think works on both levels for adults and kids, while still being completely appropriate. And also, it's a fun activity for the kids. It's a silly picture. It's all good.
That's
Again, I have no
appropriate.
problems with
Okay.
this at all. And then she has a whole section on social media where she says she can't say the names of actual social media for like legal reasons, so she changes them all to like Linstagram, Blazebook, Lumbler instead of Tumblr and stuff like this. And on this one for Tumblr, she's just like, I'm not even kidding, I don't get it at all. And I was like, yeah, like me with this book.
This chick, oh my god, it's like she's a fan, but at the same time she's like, yeah, she fucked up, right? But at the same time she's like, no, some of it was good. This sounds terrible. First of all, yes, you can, like, why wouldn't you be able to mention the names of social media platforms if, like, you weren't, like, you're not saying anything that's gonna actually, like, put you in legal jeopardy. The only reason you would change the names is if you're afraid you're gonna get sued. I mean, come on.
That was funny. Again, not a huge amount of content here, which is why I'm like, it's quite low effort, but yeah, it's fine. This one gave me a giggle. All good. The next section I want to look at, I only have one page to talk about here, but I've titled this part The Wrong Audience. This is a page which has a joke about pyramid schemes and multi-level marketing. Now, you know, if you've seen any of my videos before, I'm very, very critical of multi-level.
Yeah, that's totally normal for kids, right? Like, for kids' content. It's totally normal for kids' content to start talking about, like, Amway. Fucking Mary Kay and Tupperware. I got involved in one back in the 90s with my brother and his friend, and we were selling fucking vitamins that only lasted for a couple of months before we realized how, like, shitty it was. I can't yeah, oh, what was the guy's name? His name was Kevin something. And his video is like, yes, I was arrested once, but now I've learned my lessons.
Multi-level marketing and all the problems with it. I'm very interested in that area of business and scams and kind of debunking that stuff. On this page, we have a bit where, like Miranda says, my uncle knows a lot about investing, so he wrote this. So there you go. And then basically it's him selling a multi-level marketing scheme, a pyramid scheme, you know, like blah, blah, you get recruits who say, like, this is funny. I mean, it's not very original, but it gave me a giggle. Like, it really, really did. It's like, reminded me of the scene from The Office, you know, with the pyramid bit. It's like, what shape is it? I think it's The Office, right?
It's not a pyramid scheme. It's not even a scheme per se. It's...
Mm-hmm.
I have to go make a call.
But yeah, I thought this was really funny. The only thing is, I don't know if kids are gonna get it. Is this funny to the wrong audience? Like, I don't want to underestimate kids too much, but I worry that for most kids, this is going to go straight over their head. Like, I was quite a smart kid, and even I didn't know what MLMs were.
Well, I think you would have to look at how was it advertised, because obviously the publisher is also responsible for this content, right? So how was it advertised? What age range was it advertised to? I can't even with this bullshit. This is the craziest ass story, you guys, of all the bullshit this 30 something odd woman was doing to little kids.
All the dangers of them, or pyramid schemes or anything like that. I didn't know about them until I was like, what, 16 years old? So I feel like for her younger audience, is this just going to go over their head? Are they going to understand this joke? I don't know. But overall, not the worst part of the book. If my complaints were only, oh, this might be too advanced for the kids, life would be so much better, wouldn't it? But no, it gets worse. This section I call just gross. And these are the parts of the book which are just gross, and they don't need to be in here. They're not funny, they're just gross. Here she has a page on wiping. Save the earth by trapping the poo. What has my YouTube channel come to? This is a page all about how to wipe your bum after you've been to the toilet. And it contains diagrams of poo.
I think honestly, this type of material is what the FBI needs to hone in on, because it's very bizarre that a grown-ass woman needs to speak so frequently of her genital regions, right? And she's trying to frame it in such a way that it's like a teenage joke, but she's been apparently talking a lot about like periods, about genital regions, and about sexual positions and things like that. And that's where it becomes an actual sexual predator crime. The fact that she keeps bringing in sexual conversations, because look, even if it's discussing like how you're pooing, you're talking about your ass, you're talking about your vagina, you're talking about like all of these body parts, and these are not conversations that you should be having with children. And so that's where I think the FBI needs to hone in and actually like prosecute her as a sexual offender, because that was totally, totally fucking inappropriate.
Being folded into tissue.
Oh.
It also has warnings such as when the toilet paper rips and your fingers poke through, and when there's blood, and so on. Now I get it, like, toilet humor, like, kids can be into that stuff.
I'm sorry, but my ass doesn't fucking bleed. Like, what the hell are you doing to your ass, Colleen? My ass doesn't goddamn bleed. What the hell are you doing to your ass? And why are you telling kids about it?
I think that's funny, but I think this page misses the funny mark and just goes straight to disgusting and what was she thinking? Who makes something like this and thinks, yeah, I'm totally proud of this. Let me just put it out into the world and sell it to people. Then she has a whole section on puberty, which is...
oh god.
disgustingly designed. It contains close-up photos of Colleen/Miranda's crotch. That's fun. If you're under age 21, please skip the next 3 pages. They are inappropriate for you. I know it's a joke because like blah blah blah.
If you're under age 21, I thought this was supposed to be a children's book. If you're under age 21, skip this section. I thought this was supposed to be a children's book.
Like, ha ha ha, like, kids reach puberty before then, and I don't know. She says, puberty is a time where you get hairs and smells. You might experience getting chesticle lumps. Cover these. Also, you might leak things. It will...
Wait a minute, but we're supposed to be not reading it if we're under age 21. And you were talking about puberty? Are you for fucking real, Colleen? God damn it, dude.
...ruin your panties. Is this appropriate for kids? Is it? I get it, you know? Normalize talking to kids about puberty so they know what to expect, what's coming up, what's happening to their bodies, what's happening to the people around them, their brothers and sisters and so on. Normalize it so there's no shame, no stigma, none of that. That's not what this is doing. This is just turning puberty into a, ew, it's dirty and gross, let's make some jokes about it and make people feel uncomfortable about it and make, you know, inappropriate jokes about your vagina leaking to children.
Oh my God.
On this page called Monthly Lady Time, Colleen/Miranda writes, as a girl, you sometimes get leaky after puberty, and you have to clean it. Or you could get an infection and or ruin panties. This is so impossible to read, for God's sake. You can make a diaper with toilet paper. Please don't do that. Or use a pad. Do not use tampons. They are for sinners. That is an exit-only place. Now, again, I know this book is...
This is actually the point in the video where I decided I had to cover it because, like, that's so fucking crazy. First of all, okay, yeah, maybe when you're a, you know, first getting your period, you're a young girl, tampons might not be your best option because it's a really kind of uncomfortable and experience, but also it's just kind of it feels like violating, right? So it takes a while, I think, for young ladies young girls to decide whether or not they want to use tampons because it's an uncomfortable sort of violating experience, right? But I don't understand why she wrote a book about this and wrote in the book that if you're under 21 you can't read it, right? That's really weird. But also, like, me myself, I'm 49. I don't fucking want to use tampons. I don't want to use tampons. Tampons, especially for people at the beginning of their cycle or at the very end of their cycle, are not all that useful because your blood flow is a little bit heavier, right? So they're not all, like, you would have to double up with a pad anyway. Like, it's not... Look, I don't really want to have this conversation with you all right now. I can't even. What is she fucking thinking? She's in her 30s talking to a teen fan base and writing a children's book, which is probably directed at an audience that's even younger than her fan base. This is the dumbest ass shit ever. Like, why would you do this? Like, there are so many other actual educated books for children to help them walk through puberty. Like, why would you do this?
Satire, so I feel like making jokes about tampons being for sinners to an adult or an older teen, that's funny, right? Because, like, especially if they're growing up in purity culture and you're poking fun at that and poking fun at, like, you know, fundies or overprotected people who think tampons are bad or dangerous or anything like that. Like, yeah, it's funny to make a joke about that. But again, I don't think kids are going to get that. I don't think 10, 11-year-olds are going to understand why that's funny, why she's making that joke. I think you risk these kind of messages actually being internalized. It just, again, feels gross and doesn't feel appropriate for the audience. And then the next page is just a photograph of a pad and a tampon with the labels use and don't use sinner. Again, it feels like low effort content. It's a little gross. I don't really know why you'd want to see this in a kid's book.
Why is this a sinner situation? Why is using a tampon a sinner situation? Why would you try and shame young ladies, young women, young girls? Why would you try and shame them from using whatever sanitary device works best for them? Like, if they don't have a heavy flow and they want to use a tampon, why can't they use a tampon? You saying that because they've put something into their vagina that I mean, like, what a dumbass thing to say. Is she literally trying to use religion to fuck with her fan base? Is that what's happening? I can't even.
Who approved this? Did she have editors? If so, where were they and what were they doing and how many drugs were they taking when they approved this?
There's a page on Monthly Lady Time. Christopher and I got in fights about this page. I really wanted a page that had a tampon taped to it. I just thought it would be funny, and it was just something I had in my head of like a page that had no information on it, just tampon taped to it and a pad slapped in. I thought it would be really funny, so I kept fighting for this, and Christopher's like, no, we're not, you can't put a tampon in the book, you can't put a pad in the book, and finally I was like, I'm doing it, and I did it.
Next, she has a page on life hacks, including how to get pee out of panties. Apparently, wear it till they dry and pee on the rest of it. And then there's some other stuff. It just, again, it's just kind of gross, isn't it? And I have to ask, who is this for? What's the joke here? What's funny? If your audience are young enough to still wet themselves and, you know, find this relatable, then you shouldn't be putting the other stuff in the book. If your audience is older, then why are they peeing themselves? I don't get it. I kept thinking, like, at different points when I was making this video, I was like, well, am I...
You know what? The reason she's saying that is because she's probably wrote this book after she had a baby. And so she probably had a natural birth and now has bladder issues. I had a C-section, so, like, but I'm aware of this, right? Like, I'm aware that this is a condition. But this is a 30-something-year-old woman who's talking about loss of bladder control to fucking kids. And that loss of bladder control is something that happens to women after they've had babies. This is amazing that she's this fucking inappropriate.
I'm just too old to understand the humour? Am I just, like, not cool enough and not down with the kids and, like, all that sort of thing? And then I realised that, like, actually, I'm only a couple of months older than Colleen was when she was writing this book. She was 29 turning 30, I'm 30 now. So, we're the same age. Yet I don't find this funny. I don't understand who the audience is. I don't see how this appeals to children or teenagers or adults. And I don't think it's appropriate to be putting some of this stuff out for kids. And then she has a page on pink eye and how to get rid of pink eye with some really, really bad advice. Obviously, the humour's meant to be, oh, this is bad advice, don't actually do this, with things like rub on peanut butter and squeeze lemon in it. Of course they're not going to work. Ha ha, how funny. I don't know, just the fact that this whole page exists is just... Why? Now, the next section I've just called the inappropriate, because I don't really know what to call this. And this is kind of a miscellaneous section where other things that didn't really have another section I just kind of put in here. These are things that, again, I can kind of understand a little bit of where the humour might be, what the jokes are supposed to be, what they're taking the mick out of, what they're parodying and satirising and stuff like that. I kind of can see that. I just don't think those jokes and that humour is appropriate for the child audience of this book. So, for example, this page is called Get a Boyfriend Kit, and it includes things like, you know, perfume, like you might normally have, but also stalking materials like binoculars, handcuffs, camera with night vision, and rubber gloves. I get it. The joke is she's crazy and stalking boys because they don't actually want her and blah, blah, blah. And she's probably gonna kidnap a boy, and that's how you get a boyfriend. Yeah, okay, I get the joke. I think that's fine. There was an attempt there, even if you didn't pull it off. But again, a kid's gonna find this funny. Are they gonna get it? Is this not an inappropriate joke for them? I don't understand. Same with the next page. It's called Get a Girlfriend Kit. And it just says, have money. Again, I see what the joke is here. She's satirizing all those, like, douchebag alpha males and, like, toxic men who are like, oh, women only want money. Like, yeah, I get that. That's what the joke is. But again, are kids gonna have that context to understand that this is a joke and find it funny? Or are you just using humor to...
Well, that's part of the problem, is that how are you, like, okay, so how is the publisher positioning her material? Are they putting her out as an adult content producer or as a children's book? Because, I mean, like, literally, you can't position your content like that to kids, you know? It's kind of like, I have a book that's called Pride and Prejudice. No, it's Pride and Promiscuity or something like that. So Pride and Prejudice is a fairly tame book. It is an adult book, but it's not like something that like teenagers can't read. But Pride and Promiscuity is a parody of it, with turning a lot of scenes from the book, the various Jane Austen books, into sex scenes. So that is it's basically like soft porn, because it's like written porn. You have to be honest in how you're advertising your material. And if she's going to be out there doing this kind of shit, and trying to promote it to kids, I mean, she should be first of all, I think the only reason she promotes it to kids is because adults wouldn't give a shit about this. Like, it's so off the charts bad that the only people who would like it would be kids, and it's totally fucking inappropriate for kids, right?
Maybe unconsciously or subconsciously reinforce outdated, harmful gender stereotypes about women being gold diggers or property or only interested in money, or that they can be bought and sold. She continues this like, ha ha ha, I'm a crazy woman and the only way I can get a man is by being controlling and criminal. On this next page, which is levels of a relationship: stranger, mine, bae, husband, servant, prisoner, widow. Again, I understand what the joke was meant to be. I just don't think it's well executed. And again, is this appropriate for a child audience? Like, as an adult reading this, there isn't enough levels to this humor. It's not developed enough for me to appreciate the joke and actually find it funny and, like, for it to be entertaining. But for a kid, I feel like you need this kind of like background information and knowledge of the world and certain ideologies to be able to understand the humor in this. And even then, the kind of punchline to it all is something which is maybe inappropriate for kids to be thinking about. So who is the audience here? Who does this appeal to? Does this appeal to anyone? I don't know. She then has a page on first date etiquette. Took me a long time to figure out that this was meant to say etiquette. I felt very dumb. 3 ways to play hard to get. It's good to act uninterested in your first date to leave him wanting more. I can't help but feel like jokes like this are harmful because they do feed into rape culture and this idea that no means yes, no means try harder, no means keep pushing. And even if it's a joke, I think that's a really bad message to be sending to kids. The next bit is saying that, like, on a date, you have to basically abuse your date physically.
Yeah, seriously, like, if there are kids watching the videos, just be your authentic self. Like, Game playing is so bullshit. And, I mean, like, don't um overwhelm people by like trying to contact them too much or whatever like that. But just be your authentic self. That's so stupid. You do not need to play fucking games because it's going to end up in really weird dynamics in your relationship.
Punch them, hit them, spit near them, pull a hair, verbally tell them they're ugly, emotionally act uninterested and bored to hurt their feelings. And I know it's satire, so it's like, oh, okay, well, she doesn't actually mean this stuff, she means the opposite. She's writing down the opposite of what you should do. But also, I don't find domestic violence and intimate partner abuse funny, so...
No, I don't either.
Where's the joke? In the Get Money section, she makes jokes about how you get rich by get a rich bae, make sure he is also famous, and then has a picture of her stealing a guy's wallet while she hugs him. And ask mum, if she says no, find her purse and take it anyway. So encouraging stealing and gold digging. And again, I know they're jokes, but it just feels like it's perpetuating really, really harmful stereotypes about women. And also...
And what age range was this book written for exactly? Like, what the fuck is happening here? Like, who is she talking to? Who is her audience? Fuck's sake.
Honestly, encouraging poor behavior in kids and teens. I don't know. This next page was weird. I didn't know where to put this. This was the opening of a chapter/section on social media. Basically, it's just screenshots of some of Miranda Sings' social media posts. That's it, that's the page. Some of it's really weird, like a Facebook post just says hi, or a post about like a photo of sausages, and I think that's meant to be like a kind of sexual joke, next to a picture of me and my #1 fan after my show, and it's her posing next to a sleeping kid. I do hope this is a child she knows and not actually like a random fan's kid, because that would be super creepy to include that in this book.
Yeah.
And even if it is a kid she knows and she got kind of permission from the parents or whatever, I'm not sure I find it really appropriate to include pictures of kids like this in the book. And as the book goes on, there's actually quite a few kids featured in this, young kids, like under 6 years old, I'd say. This one is literally a baby. I don't know. The kids can't consent. It's a bit weird to have them, especially next to, like on this page, next to a sausage joke. On other pages, you have like sexual jokes surrounding them. Later on in the book, we'll see she has a kid on a leash, like literally round his neck. It all feels inappropriate and awful, and I don't like it. I don't like how she portrays kids in this book. I don't like that she has kids in this book. And I feel like this ties into the criticisms of her and her family channel and stuff like that. So that's something to consider. Other than that, this page just seems incredibly low effort, like she couldn't even be bothered to recycle funny or entertaining social media posts. She just picked these. Why? Why choose these posts? It's very boring and weird. Odd. Then she has a section about like children and like I guess how to interact with children and so on and so on. But she titles it How to Do Children. Ha ha ha. So funny from the woman who's been accused of being inappropriate with children. You really did dig your own hole and then wonder where it came from, didn't you, Colleen?
You want me to take accountability, but that's not the point of your mob mentality, is it? No. Your goal is to ruin the life of the person you despise while you dramatize your lies and monetize their demise.
She has this weird resource on diaper changing. Again, who is the audience for this? It's very odd. She is like, okay, here's an example on a bear, but it's not even using a nappy, it's just using like a towel. Anyway, then the next page has a picture of like an actual child sleeping in one of these towel nappy things. I don't get it. Who is this child and why is he in the book? Is this kid going to be okay with this when he grows up? Speaking of inappropriate things with kids, here are some more photos of Colleen/Miranda with kids. And this page is titled Fun Activities, Things You Can Do With Your Kids. The top one is actually quite funny. Have your kid hide and then do something else while they're distracted. That's funny. That's a good joke because like I think probably a lot of people who've had to look after kids or babysit or whatever, like they're going to find that funny because you're like, yeah, sometimes just some me time. Like, that's a good joke. That's funny. I like that. The others, no. Playing dress up. You can have them dress as a dog or a homeless.
Oh.
That's offensive. But also, she then has a photo of a kid crawling on hands and knees while she has a rope tied around his neck. Again,
Oh, God.
who thought this was okay to publish? And then finally, Play Horsey look.
Okay. All right. Okay. I think I've gotten enough of this material. I'm going to copy the link and drop it in the description because I'm not covering this whole goddamn video. I can't even with this chick. Oh my God. Colleen, you are a crazy ass bitch.